Hey, what is up guys? Joker here. Today we're going to be doing our Just Cause 3 performance review, a day late and $1 short. A day late because, well, Rainbow Six Siege also came out yesterday and I was having an immense time with that, and then real life stuff got in the way. And I'm $1 short because, well, I had to drop 28 bucks for Just Cause 3 on cdkeys.com. So today we're going to be taking a look at the performance of the game on PC. Also got the FPS overlay up there, thanks to a fix that someone posted on Twitter, Iero Oitinen, something like that. I don't know how to pronounce his name exactly, his Twitter name I should say anyway. But thank you to him for linking me how to get the Afterburner overlay, because it was not working by default. I had to do some tweaking with this account. I had to add a profile for Just Cause 3, and then I tweaked it to get my fonts and stuff the way I like it. But there it is, we got it up there so you guys can get that information. And first thing you might note is that SLI is not working here. You can just see the second card is just sort of hovering there, and the first card is handling all of the grunt work of running Just Cause 3 right now, because according to Andrew Burns of NVIDIA GeForce, the engine is not supporting multi-GPU solutions. Now, there was a lot of, a lot of people talking about this yesterday, and then there was also a follow-up to that where someone said that wasn't 100% accurate and that technically any game can support SLI. But I think what he was saying was like, yes, we can make an SLI profile for it, but it's still dependent on the engine supporting it. So it sounds like Avalanche would have to do a fair amount of work to get SLI working in this game if it is ever going to come. So that's something you should know ahead of time. Game is not supporting SLI at launch, which kind of has me thinking back to one of my old videos.
What you gonna do, brother, when SLI support runs wild on you?
So yeah, anyway, SLI not working, so you guys gotta know that ahead of time. But let's go ahead and delve straight into the options, as we always like to do in these videos. And if for whatever reason you don't want to see the detailed option analysis, then you can go ahead and skip ahead according to the timestamp that you're seeing on your screen right now. But first, we'll start it off with graphics, since they've listed it here first. We're going straight into graphics. See, we do have our full screen we do have our full screen support, but no borderless full screen, just full screen or non-full screen. So just that's it. No borderless full screen option here at all. We do have VSync, which we could set on or off, which I have set to off. Anisotropic filtering goes all the way up to 16 times. Resolution support has all of the resolutions that you would come to expect. Also supports 4K, and I ran some testing at 3440 by 1440 ultra wide, so I can comment on how the world HUD was interacting, performance, as well as being available in the game, and it did. It supported 3440 by 1440 instantly as soon as I hooked it up on ultra wide resolution. It went perfectly right away. The HUD was scaling to the edges of the screen as it should. It didn't seem stretched or anything like that, so it looks like they do have native ultra-wide support built right into this game. So if that's a concern of yours, don't worry about it. Avalanche has you taken care of. And I can't seem to get... Oh yeah, it's control, that's right. I always forget about this. I keep hitting escape to get out of the options, and it's control. It says right down there at the bottom of the screen, it's control to go back. I wish it was escape, because it's just control, which is rather annoying. For anti-aliasing options, we do have off FXAA, SMAA, my favorite, and SMAA T2X, which I am currently running. I've got everything cranked up in this besides motion blur, because motion blur. Texture quality very high. That's the highest as all goes. Water detail, water tessellation. This is actually heavily involved with NVIDIA GameWorks technology. That they have NVIDIA WaveWorks built right into this game, and that's what's going to be running in the game, whether you're running NVIDIA or AMD hardware. So water tessellation is just is something you can turn on or off. But, you can't turn water completely off, and they do have WaveWorks built into the game inherently, so that's something you should know ahead of time. But I've not had any issues running it performance-wise, at least on my NVIDIA cards. LOD factor, we do have shadow quality, SSAO, motion blur, which I've turned off, as I mentioned. Edge fade, global illumination, screen space reflections, and bokeh depth of field. We got that bokeh, so we've got to have that bokeh. But unfortunately, some of these would be nice if we knew the details of what they actually were, like this edge fade, things like that, or let us know exactly what level of detail factor is going to be making adjustments to. We don't have any tooltips on here to sort of let us know what those are all doing. It would have been nice to have that option. Coming over to sound, we have our sound effects, voice, and music sliders on here, and we can set subtitles on and off. Unfortunately, cannot set different types of audio devices. That's rather unfortunate. I wish we had seen that here in the game. On our gameplay options, we can set our camera/mouse sensitivity. We also have camera or camera inversion for vertical and horizontal. Vibration for controllers if you are running one. I am playing on mouse and keyboard though. Vehicle camera auto alignment. This is something I turned off right away because the vehicle cameras in this are absolutely horrendous. I just want to let you guys know that. Vehicle cameras in this game, I am not a fan, and I do not want to be in the vehicles very much in this game as a result of it, and I will show you that when we get into the gameplay. But I turned this off, and it still is not great, but when it was on, it was even worse. We do have extended leaderboards, and I turned that off because there is an overlay in game that shows you the leaderboards of like people that have beaten your high scores and stuff like that. Rather annoying. We also have our HUD options here. We can do show all, hide all, or only reticles. Would have been nice to be able to customize individual elements on your own, but hey, at least we got some options there for that. We do have our gamepad controls here, which does not seem to be remappable as I can't click on anything in here. But yeah, I don't have a controller hooked up. PC controls, we can remap all of these, and they've got everything in here with separate options for on foot, car, motorcycle, boat, jet ski. So nice to see that you do have different customization for the various ways that you will be getting around in the game world. But that wraps it up for the options menu. Let's go ahead and jump into some gameplay now and talk about how this game is running on the PC. And also, very quickly, I want to mention that there were some pretty bad load times when the game first starts up that you'll be able to see right here. That loading screen runs for about a good 30-40 seconds, and then it's immediately followed by an additional loading screen where it loads you into the game. So it is quite a lengthy process to actually get into the game. I'd say maybe about 1.5 to 2 minutes before you're actually able to start playing when you boot the game up. So that's unfortunate. But the plus side of that is when you are actually in game here in the menus that you're actually already loaded in. When I go ahead and hit continue here, you'll see like Rico just starts walking. Like Rico's good to go. Like what's good Rico? Rico is ready. So yeah, and another thing I want to mention here is that the camera here, we don't have an FOV slider in this game, and I feel that the camera is a little bit too close to Rico for comfort for me, as well as when we get into the cars in this game, and I wish we did have an option for that, or hopefully we get maybe a config tweak in the future, a mod that allows us to sort of tweak that, because I just feel like the camera is a little bit too close for me. On Rico. I'd like to be able to get a little bit wider of a view here, which was actually quite nice when I was running around on ultra wide, running off of the single 980 Ti because there's no SLI support for this game, and it was getting around 50 to 60 FPS the majority of the time. If I were to lower down shadow quality to high and level of detail to high, I was actually able to get a pretty solid 60 FPS at 3440 by 1440 if you are running an ultra-wide monitor. Some good information for you there if you're looking to know how a 980 Ti can handle this game. So got into a car here. Go ahead and take off, and you guys will be able to see the camera. Okay, all right. See, I cannot turn that. I cannot turn that. I cannot turn that. That's another thing I have to mention is that the vehicle handling in this on keyboard anyway is absolutely gash, just terrible, terrible. Because what happens is you actually have to, when you want to turn or do any directional, you have to hold A or D for like a good 2-3 seconds before anything even starts to happen. And the camera also feels really odd because you can't adjust the camera distance right here. This is basically it. That is the camera right there, and it feels too close for me. It's never really sitting high enough or just too low or out of sight of the car. So I had a problem with the camera controls on the vehicles personally, and also the handling, trying to use A and D to drive around. So if you're wanting to use a mouse and keyboard for driving in this, just so you know, it's kind of tough. Like, that's me really holding it right there. And they do have a handbrake, but it just kind of makes you do an instant 90-degree turn. Like it's pretty much instant, but you can get on top of the car, which is actually pretty cool. And using Rico's grappling hook here to get around, you can grab onto these cars and jump on top. Pretty cool. The movements and all that in this game are super fluid, so we're taking a ride here on this guy's green car. So let's talk about performance in the game. Now, I want to let you guys know that I only tested on my 980 Ti and the GTX 970 SSC edition. The reason I did not test on my AMD R9 380 is because I was having some issues with the new Crimson driver, and recognizing the graphics card in the system. So I'm having issues right now with the driver, but I wanted to get this video out to you guys. Didn't want to wait any longer on it as my game crashes. What the hell just happened? Sorry about that. My game kind of went down to desktop and then came back on immediately. I don't know what that was all about. Anyway, so yeah, I didn't get a chance to test on the R9 380 because of an issue with the new Crimson driver, and it was not recognizing the card. So only tested on the 970 as well as the 980 Ti. So talking first about the 970 SSC edition, that card was running the game quite well. This game is optimized pretty darn well. For single GPU performance at 1080p, it was getting around 60 to 70 FPS the most of the time running around in the game world, so it was quite good. Really don't have any complaints as far as the performance was at 1080p on the GTX 970 SSC edition. When I did bump it up to 1440, the 970 was getting around 50 to 60 FPS, but in some parts of the open world it was over 60, but when I would get into the heavier combat, that's when I would start to see the frames dipping down below 60, but it was a smooth experience through all of that. It never felt, you know, non-responsive or unsmooth to me. The game wasn't really stuttering around a lot. It was quite good playing it at that resolution, as I struggle here with handling on this car. But you could, like I said, with the 3440 by 1440, if you were playing at just 256 by 1440, you could just go ahead and tweak like the shadows down to high, LOD down to high, and then you should be running at a constant 60 frames the majority of the time. As to the GTX 980 Ti system, which you could see I'm playing on right here for all of the gameplay in this video, you can see that I am getting up around 70 frames here going around in this area. Sometimes that goes up to 80 or higher, but for the most part I'd say 70-75 is my average FPS on the GTX 980 Ti going around in the world. The lowest I've really seen it gone is like the mid-60s in really heavy action sequences, so it's handling it very well. Using about 4 gigabytes of video memory here at 1440, but remember I am running a 4K secondary screen, so that's going to add on a few hundred megabytes at least right there. But 980 Ti definitely not having any issues handling this game at 1440p, and as I mentioned, the 970 also doing quite well at 1080 and 1440. And just to briefly comment on CPU, since I mentioned recently that the i5 had been a bottleneck in a lot of these open world titles, I did not have any issues with that here in Just Cause 3. The CPU was about 50% usage most of the time, and it was handling the game quite well. Didn't have any bottlenecks there as a result of using an i5 in this game at all, so you shouldn't be worried about that if you are running an i5. But that's going to wrap it up for the performance review here on Just Cause 3. I do apologize that I could not get the R9 380 working the way that I wanted to for you guys, to be able to bring you the numbers on that. If I can get it working at some point today, I will update you guys over on the TGW podcast later today at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you guys tune into that, I might have an update for you as far as the performance is concerned in this game, at least on the AMD side with the R9 380. But I'm going to go ahead and get on out of here, guys. I want to thank you for watching, and I will catch you next time. Terra.
Visual contact. All units, fan out and search. All units on alert. Re-establish visual contact.
Requesting additional support.
Rebel activity reported. Get to the following coordinates immediately. Target is at large. Re-establish visual contact immediately.